Hello everyone, myself Azmira Khan, and as you all know that I'll be teaching you history of class 9 part. So we will be starting from the first part of the chapter. So now we will be discussing the first part in the summarized way, and the next part will be more descriptive. Okay, so Chapter 1 of your history book in class 9 is Advent of the Europeans into India. So as we have already studied this part, so we know that Europeans started coming to India through sea routes during what time? Almost during 16th to 17th centuries. And prior to that, it is not that Europeans were new to India during that time. 14th, 15th, 16th centuries, Europeans were not new. In history, there is record that from far back in history, since time immemorial, that means from since ancient times, India had trade relations through the land with European countries. With the West, India had trade relations, and it is in ancient and it was during ancient India. So it is not that Europeans were um, in ancient times, in medieval times, there was no context. Suddenly, they came to India for trade. They already knew, Europeans of the ancient generations already knew that India is good in trade activities. India's trade from the spices and all. India can be traded with. Okay, they can come here and trade in India. So what happens during the time of 1453 AD, there was crusades. Okay, during this is the time when crusades took place, almost 12th century. During 12th century, crusade took place. And during crusade means what? It was a war between the Christians and the Muslims. It is a long history of the European history. It is a long one, you don't need to know in details here. So crusades took place during 12th century. So here what happened, once crusade took place, Constantinople was captured by the Turks. So during this time, the overland route, okay, that trade route which was through the land, that means not by the sea, it was through the land, that overland route was closed. So when overland route was closed, the Europeans felt that as trade was very much necessary for them. Okay, trade was very much necessary for them, and India was rich in some resources. So for them, it was very necessary to find a new way through which they can reach India. Okay, so this new way, this was the adventure of the Europeans. Okay, through these new adventures, they entered India. And this time when they entered India, India faced a tremendous change in the point of time. In that point of time, okay. So India had faced the change in rule, the change in the entire politics, the change in the entire economy. So all these changes India had to face after the advent of the Europeans during this time. Okay, so the first of the travelers who reached India, among the most important ones, the first were the Portuguese. Okay, we must remember that among all the Europeans, the all the European means what? Dutch, Portuguese, French, you can say British, all these were European people. So among them, who came to India first? Portuguese. Okay, the Portuguese were the pioneers in finding new routes. So, and one of the most important and famous, you can say, Portuguese sailor was Bartholomew Diaz. When did he reach India? sorry, when did he reach South Africa? It was during 1487. So why Bartholomew Diaz name is given here? Because he was followed by the next sailor, that is Vasco da Gama. Okay, so when Bartolomeo Diaz started his adventure, he reached South Africa. Okay, and where did he reach? The place called Cape of Good Hope, and it is in the southernmost corner of South Africa. So there when he reached, it was 1487, and almost after 10 years from this year, after 10 years, Vasco da Gama had um, followed the route discovered by Bartholomew Diaz and arrived in India in 1498. Okay, which port? Calicut port. During this time, Vasco da Gama entered India. So this discovery of the sea route, it was not done in one moment. It was not a discovery of one moment. This discovery took long years. Okay, that time their navigation, their sailing through seas, see, the seas were unknown to them. They didn't even know where, to which direction they had to sail to reach India. So these problems they had to face in the broad seas. Suppose, just imagine, in the broad seas, their boat was sailing. Okay, their boat was sailing, and they could not even find out where they are going to reach. It took months, more than 3 months even, when they were sailing. Months and months it took to reach a particular place, and that also they didn't even know where they are going to reach. So it was Vasco da Gama. After 10 years of discovery, Vasco da Gama reached India in 1498. So once India's route was discovered, that he was the first Portuguese to reach India, Vasco da Gama. So once the route was discovered, now the route is discovered to India. So now you can see many Europeans coming to India. Not only Portuguese, many of the Europeans coming to India. Lastly, who survived in India? British. So this new communication, this is a new communication from Europe to India. This sea route is a new communication. So this new communication is, uh, you can say, it is, it brought about huge changes in the world history and even the history of India. Okay, so as I said that not only Portuguese came to India, all almost many of the Europeans came to India. So here you can see English coming to India. English means what? British. So British, when they came to India, their main aim was also trade. Their main, while coming to India, initially they were not about to rule here. So their main aim was trade. So who are the first and foremost sailors coming to India? That we will not explain in details this part, because as I have already, as I think your previous history teacher, she has already explained this part. We are going to just give a summarized description. So, Ralph Fitch, John Mildenhall, all these were the sailors who were the first to reach India. Okay, who initially reached India, and as they reached India, in Britain, their stories had amused people. Okay, they had known about India. So Queen Elizabeth, she gave the privilege of trade to them to do in India. Okay, these sailors got the privilege from the Queen Elizabeth to trade in India. So once these English sailors came to India, the English merchants also came to India gradually, and the English merchants who came to India, their company's name was East India Company, as we already know, and it was first set up in England. In England, the company was set up. They came to India. That means the company which was about to rule in not rule exactly the trade in India, they it was named as East India Company. So the Queen of England, that is Queen Elizabeth, she gave permission to carry out trading activities in these parts where they established colonies. Okay, in India also now the British have already established colonies. As they have reached India, they established their um, trading centers in India, okay, trading ports in India. Now gradually we will see that by establishing themselves here, they will convert it, they will transform India into a colony. Their colony. That means they will do productions here, they will procure the profits from here, and they will sell this produced things and or mm, productions in their countries, or they will take raw materials from here, as we already know what have the British done to our history. So, as we already know, during these centuries when the British were coming, who were the rulers in India? Even the Mughals were ruling. Jahangir was there. During this time when they were coming to India, okay, Mughals were there. So they had to take permission from even Indian rulers also. So from Jahangir, they asked permission so that they can rule in India. So who was the Englishman took visit Jahangir's court? I think you all know Captain William Hawkins. So Captain Hawkins trying to earn some trade privileges from the Mughal emperor. Okay, he tried to stay in the Mughal empire for 2 years. See their dedication to trade in India. So much of dedication that he tried to he stayed in the Mughal court or Mughal empire for 2 years to take the privilege of trade. Okay, to take the privilege of trade, he tried to stay in the Mughal empire for 2 years. And it is not that the Mughals also at once gave them permission. So initially it was declined. The proposal was declined. Later on, again the King of England had to ask for permission through these sailors or through this Englishmen, ask for permission again. Later on only they got permission to trade in India. So Jahangir later on gave permission. On not The permission was not like that. He signed some kind of trade contracts. No trade contracts was signed, but only the permission was granted. So then when the permission was granted, English factories were set up at Surat, okay, after taking permission. So this is the initial stage. Later on, again we will see more English delegation like John Sherman, Hamilton. All these people, they also started seeking permission to trade in India in different parts of. And we can see that they even served the Mughal emperor to get this privilege. Suppose the Mughal emperor was having some kind of disease. Okay, Farooq Shir was there during that time when John Sherman tried to visit the Mughal emperor. Okay, Mughal empire. Farooq Shir was there, Mughal emperor, and he had some kind of disease. And what happened? The English surgeon who was accompanying John Sherman, he cured the disease, and this was some kind of tr- uh, on behalf of this thanksgiving. That means the king wanted to thank through what? By giving trade permission. Okay, so in that way also they got trade permission. So the company, East India Company, when I say company, that means it is East India Company. So the company received trade permission like farmans, as we say, farman from the emperor, which in the farman, what did granted, the British could start trading here and without any duty. The farmers mentioned that the trade can be duty free, and it was in parts of uh, mainly in parts of Bengal, and only a amount of 3000 rupees had to be paid by the company to the ruler annually, okay, in a year. So the trade was duty free. That means every time when they are going to trade something, they don't have to pay any kind of tax or duty. So only annually one kind of a sum of money, or what you can say, a sum of this 3000 rupees had to be paid to the ruler. So from this kind of dedication of the company officials, okay, company people, to seek permission from the ruler, the kind of dedication they were showing, okay, the kind how much they were determined to trade in India, how much they wanted to trade in India. It reflects that their first and foremost objective was trade. Okay, their first and foremost objective was trade. They were later on seeking for political power, but initially their main objective was trade. So company established their trade center in Masulipatnam in 1611, second trade center at Armagao in 1636, and during that time Bombay was the head office of the. And coming to the next portion, we will see the most prominent officer of the British, that is Robert Clive. Okay, Robert Clive was one of the most important officials to have influenced in, that means, India during that time. Okay, he was very prominent officer. He was a very you can say diplomatic officer. So it was through his activities that India was built up as a colonial empire. Okay, India has been changed from this um, Mughal rule or any other kind of rule to British rule. So it was through this officer Robert Clive that India has in the British has gained strong position in India, and later on they tried to rule India. Okay, Robert Clive has very much impact in this part. That means in his activities are of great importance. He even, see, Robert Clive is so efficient that he even designed some kind of mm, scheme. He designed some kind of scheme where he can expel other companies from India. So here other companies, other European companies means what? During that time, who were the other European companies coming to India? Dutch, French, Portuguese, this all. Okay, he tried to expel every one of these companies from India and tried to maintain the importance of British East India Company. Okay, he devised some kind of scheme to fight against them. And not only this, other companies, even the regional rulers of suppose Bengal, Hyderabad, Awadh, Rajputana, all these places, the regional rulers, Robert Clive even maintained to win over them. Okay, he even by through by even you can say by war or by friendship, Robert Clive tried to win over these rulers. Okay, bring under the colonial empire, to bring under the bring them under the colonial empire. So Robert Clive, so these places, suppose Bengal, Hyderabad, Awadh, Rajputana, will be under the colonial empire. These kings will have no power then. Okay, Robert Clive have bring this brought these kings or regional rulers under their control, under British control. So he won over them, or even through war sometimes, even through friendship sometimes. So you have heard about the battle of this one, Plassey, battle of Boxer. Okay, these were the battles fought by the British during this time, during the time of Robert Clive and all. So during this time, through which they were trying to occupy their places. Okay, places of uh, small regions of, suppose, Nizam of Hyderabad, Awadh ruler, okay, Nawab of Bengal. These places were being seized or occupied by the British through these battles. This time, during this time, through these battles like the Boxer and Plassey. And some places were occupied through friendship. Friendship means what? Through a kind of treaty. Directly the king had to sign a treaty with the British, saying that he is surrendering to the British. That means the king will have no kind of power to rule in these places, and they will be coming under the British. Okay, they British will give some kind of pensions to them, and no other vast profits as he was enjoying during his reign. Okay, so from the time of Robert Clive up to the time of Lord Dalhousie, I think you have heard the names. So during this time, the colony of the British, that means the British had gained so much of places, occupied so much of places in India. They almost built up a empire. Okay, empire building was in great. What to say, was great during their time. Robert Clive, if be it Robert Clive or Lord Dalhousie, their distinct kind of contributions had built up the entire British imperialism or empire building during that time. Okay, they accelerated the process of empire building. So here it is there, the British period, that then the British period, how many years long it was? Almost 200 years long. Okay, so the British period, it long British period was divided in two time periods. Okay, for the convenience of understanding, the long British period is divided in two time periods. So the time periods, I think you have done this question answers. The first is the period when the Mughal empire was declining, okay, up to the period of Sepoy mutiny. That is the first phase. Sepoy Mutiny is 1857. And when is the second phase after the Sepoy Mutiny? That is from 1858 to 1947. 1947 is, every one of us know that it was the time when Indians uh, had gained the power. Okay, the power was transferred from the British to the Indians. That means India got independence from the British rule in India. So the time period has been divided in this way. The time period of what? The British rule. So it was from decline of Mughals up to the Sepoy mutiny. That means it was the first kind of mutiny or revolt against the British. First kind of revolt against the British by whom? By the Indians. It was a major revolt by the Indians against the British. This was the first kind. That later on there was many kind of revolts, movements as we know, but this one was first of its kind. Okay, it was a revolt against the British. So from the downfall up to the Sepoy Mutiny, next year of Sepoy Mutiny, that is 1858 to 1947, is the second phase. So during the first phase, British, what they have done through these ways, through the various means, they tried to bring the different regional rulers under their control. That means under the British Empire, they tried to extend the British Empire through various means. So what happened here? These various means they have adopted to occupy the areas in one point of time had led to the Sepoy Mutiny, you can say. As we already know the causes of Sepoy Mutiny, okay, doctrine of lapse and all, these were the policies adopted by the British. Okay, Dalhousie's doctrine of lapse, these were the policies to occupy the areas of the regional rulers. Okay, the regions of the regional rulers. So these policies, as a result, what happened? These policies mm, resulted in the Sepoy Mutiny. People were fed up, people had to revolt because of these ruthless policies of the British. And in the second period, what happened? The British crown. What measures she has adopted, as she have already seen that in India people are revolting because of the British administration in India. She tried to bring up some measures, okay, to satisfy the people of India. She tried to bring up some kind of measures. The acts which we have studied in the class, I think you remember, 1861 Act, 18 this one, Indian Council Act, all these acts, okay, they through various kind of acts of the government, that means policies she has introduced to the British Indian government, okay, through which the people will be satisfied, so that the people won't revolt in the future. So keeping that in mind, the crown, that means the Queen of England, she tried to bring some kind of measures. Okay, So during this time, what we will see, that means a far later period, in the second phase itself, we will see that Indians try to fight the British again. How? Through various kind of movements. You will see the entering of Gandhi in the scene, Mahatma Gandhi. So various movements, what are they? Quit India, civil disobedience, non-cooperation, all these movements, okay, through these movements they tried to fight the British. They tried to end up the British rule in India. So at one point of time the British had to quit India, and the power was transferred from the British to the Indians. So in this way, the second phase is categorized. So in this audio, we have seen up to sub point 1.2 of the first chapter, where we have learned that Europeans adventure to India, new voyages to India. Okay, through this European adventure, English also came to India. The English, they have survived in India, and the main important role played in this fight of the Europeans in India was whom? It was Robert Clive. Robert Clive has played an important role, and we can see the role of Lord Dalhousie. Okay, so how they tried to maintain the British power in India, we have seen up to here. So in this part, we have seen their determination of seeking farman, or you can say trade permissions from the Mughal rulers or the regional rulers, how determined they were to trade in India. Their first objective was trade, and later on, their objective changed into uh, uh, political ambitions. Okay, because they were politically very ambitious people. The British, it was not that they were only economically interested people; they were also politically very ambitious people. So they could try to rule in India, and they have obviously ruled India for about 200 years. That was their um, from their side, it was their success because they were politically very ambitious people. Otherwise, they would not have survived, or uh, survive up to a so long period in India. Their entire mindset was very much they were very much cruel people. Okay, they thought only their profits, because they were economically interested in India, their trade benefits. Okay, these are the first things that are in their mind. And politically, if they rule India, that would benefit them more. So from this point of view, they were trying to rule India. So if they are the rulers in India, that means Indian entire trade will be in their hands. They don't have to pay to anyone. So these are the benefits they have been seeing in ruling India. Understood up to here? I think you have the books. Everyone have the books, and while listening to the audio class, you have to open the books and go through it in order to relate what I am saying. So in the next audio, this is the first audio. In the second audio, we will start uh, 1.2. I'm really sorry, I have said in the last part, just last word I have said that this 1.2 I have completed. It's not 1.2, it is 1.1. That is the advent of the Europeans, sorry, advent of the English into India. 1.2 I will be dealing in the next audio. Okay, 1.2 is company's rule. That will be dealt in the next audio. So here we are going very fast, because as we these things we have already discussed in the class, just to revise it so that we can understand the later parts, so that we can understand the entire chapter. Just to revise it, I am going through it again, once again, and it will be for your benefit. So in the next audio, we will see company's rule, sepoy mutiny, and the other parts. What kind of constitutional administrative changes were brought after the Sepoy mutiny? We will see all this. Okay, thank you very much.